Hey everyone, good evening and welcome back to another edition of Children of the Watch. Willie and I are joined again by our esteemed Jedi Council. Jeff and John are back with us. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Good to be here. Again, I got
Great,
invited
first
back.
of
I
all.
must have said something right.
I think so, for sure.
How
Today
dare you
we are
call
gonna
me a Jedi?
sorry. Today we are gonna talk about the Disney investor meeting that happened this week. Yeah,
Yes.
Willie's face says it all. It was an insane amount of information. I know leading up to it, they pitched it as the Star Wars universe is about to expand. And obviously, Star Wars not the only thing touched on. We had Pixar, Marvel, Disney, animation, live action, all of it in this incredible investor meeting. Now, they started off the presentation by saying that there will be 10 Star Wars shows. 10 Star Wars shows, Mandalorian being one of them. But I'm going to kick us off tonight, guys, by going down the list of everything that was announced. And we are going to play a game that Willie and I played on our last episode called In and Out, except because there's four of us, we're going to play it a little differently. And I'm going to assume that we're all in on everything. But if I get to anything, or if you have anything for any of these shows, I want you to stop me and say, and I'll ask if anybody is out. But I'm gonna start here with the one that it wasn't like widely announced, but something that I'm definitely glad to have back, and it's that The Mandalorian did get renewed for season 3, and it's gonna premiere on Christmas Day 2021. Good, we're all in. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna
Yes.
skip it. We know we're good. Okay, here's a
Absolutely.
second one, and I am actually gonna start us off on the out on this, and I think this is gonna be unpopular. I am out on the Bad Batch, guys.
Oh no,
Um,
I'm too.
Yeah.
okay, Bad Batch is an animated show, and obviously in the vein of Clone Wars and Rebels. Bad Batch were in this latest edition of Clone Wars, and essentially the reason I'm out is that they are the Ninja Turtles. Like very, it's like almost
Very
overtly
specific.
they're the four Ninja Turtles, and I think that that's a fun idea for a 3 episode arc of Clone Wars. Do I want to watch a whole series of Star Wars um, Ninja Turtles? I do not. So, is anybody in on Bad Batch? Is anybody excited for the Bad Batch show?
I'm excited for friends of my daughters to have told me about it later on. This is a show for children. I mean, which is fine. Like again, we can acknowledge that Star Wars is for a lot of people. But this is a Filoni stretch for
Fair.
me. Like it's
It,
just like okay, let's see. Let's give Filoni one more idea if he wants to play this out and see where it goes. But
Yeah, I was very surprised when he announced that because that like I wasn't even a fan of that arc the first time around.
I wasn't surprised at all. I assumed that immediately when they put them in this last season. I was like, these guys are definitely going to get some sort of weird spin-off situation. And I'm not. I'm with you guys. Like, I'm not. I don't really care. I will watch it because I
Yeah.
will watch pretty much anything Star Wars at this point. But like, I I don't care.
Yeah,
Just don't.
it's one of those, Jeff, I think you're right. Star Wars is for everyone, and this will serve some kind of purpose. Maybe it's filling the void that Rebels, Resistance, Clone Wars left. So I think perhaps it will have that. I would have been more in if they're like, hey, this is going to be 8 episodes. We just have another story to tell, and it could be silly and fun, but I do not want a couple seasons of the Bad Batch. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and maybe it's great, but I'm out on Bad Batch.
I think it's a toy void. They just want to make some toys, and
Yeah,
it's an easy way
well,
to do that.
you
Really.
absolutely might be right on that.
Yeah.
Keeping it animated, next up is Visions. So Visions is going to be a animated shorts production. So kind of I'm assuming it would be similar in the vein of like Pixar shorts, which I do like, but to be honest, I'm out on Visions because I feel like it's too much. I feel like we're getting into I think the Galaxy of
Dynamic.
Adventure shorts on YouTube are really good. They highlight the Skywalker saga and all the different aspects. I think those are good. I just don't know if I need like a high level production Star Wars shorts. Does anybody in on Visions particularly feel strongly about it? Not that we know a lot about it, but
Is
just
this
the concepts.
is this the one that's all done by Japanese animators?
Oh, was that what this is? I didn't even realize that.
The vision.
That was my question.
Oh,
If it's anime, I'm 100% for it because
okay. That actually changes my. I didn't know. I didn't realize that, to be honest with you. I just thought this was a bunch of slick Star Wars shorts. I mean, anime is not my bag, but at least that's an interesting spin.
I mean, if it's just 8 like different like anime artists coming in and doing weird Star Wars stuff, I'm 100%
like Gotham Knight.
Yeah.
Okay, that actually sounds better. That's a good. If that's what it's like, I'm in on it. Like something Gotham Knight is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you talked me in.
The Animatrix. I'm expecting it to be like What If, the new Marvel thing. Like I'm expecting that, and that I'm.
Okay.
I'd buy that DVD in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? I was all for those ideas.
All right. Well, I was wrong. I've been set straight because I honestly didn't hear any of that. I just assumed that it was like Pixar shorts, which is just kind of like short little things, and I'm like, I'm out on that. But if it is like Animatrix, Gotham Knight, the anime, Japanese animation companies, that is actually a cool idea. So I'm in on that. No. Another one I'm out on, guys, I'm sorry, is a droid story. Animated, narrated by C-3PO and R2. I'm sorry, Jeff.
We're all too old. We're all too young. There's a droids TV show that they're just rebooting, and they're just not telling anybody about it, hoping people forget, which is fine.
People forget.
But I think this confirms a Mando cameo at this point. There's let's sell it. Here's some droids. I don't know. Or they're gonna pull from Mando from droids that we've seen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna get into this later, but it's just I don't think anybody's asking for this.
What if Mando has a guest spot in every?
Like they just work him in.
Yeah.
Well, it could be the Ewok show again. We're not getting the Ewok show.
God.
They had to pick. They picked 2. They were like, all right, do we get droids or do we get the Ewoks? And they went with droids.
We have 2 legacy animations. Whatever you guys.
I can't have my faith in Star Wars be as restored as it's been lately, and then go back to the Ewok show. I'll kill myself.
I mean, I just narrated by C-3PO. I mean, I assume Anthony Daniels is doing literally nothing else with his life, but I don't really. I mean, I would like it if it was like C-3PO and R2 were like the old guy in the Muppets booth, and they were just kind of talking shit about everyone. But I know that's not what it's gonna be.
What if it's like Mystery Science Theater and
Science Theater? I was just gonna say that.
C-3PO and R2 watching the prequel trilogy and then talking about how bad it is. Like that'd be.
I'd be in on that.
Like, what's that the whole time? Like, who are those people?
I can see that. Okay, outside of animation and shorts, we are getting to the meat of the Star Wars drop. So we have 6 shows I want to talk about. First, the one we knew about. Well, there are a couple we knew about, but the one we knew about that is coming first, and that's the Cassian Andor show. I'm tentatively in. I think that was a fine character. I didn't really watch Rogue One and be like, I would love to know more about Cassian Andor and K2SO. But that era of Star Wars is pretty unexplored for the moment. So I could be talked into it. Does anybody have any strong feelings either way on Andor?
I'm out on Andor.
Out on Andor.
So we'll talk about this later, but I'm so into a Rogue Squadron movie that I don't need any more from Rogue One. This is the movie that betrayed me. I don't need it. I don't need anything from it. I'll enjoy it for what it is, but now that I know that I'm getting the movie that we deserved, I don't need any more Mr. Andor.
All right, yeah, I think we're all safely tentative or just hard out on Andor. Okay, next up is a Lando show. We don't know if this is going to be Billy D. Lando, who I'm sure is available. I don't know what he could get into, or is this going to be Donald Glover Lando? And I imagine
Glover.
I didn't see any casting announcements. If there was, I didn't see it. If it is Glover, I'm 100% in. Not that I wouldn't be in for Billy D, but Billy D, I think physically is unable to really do anything. I think for shooting Rise of Skywalker, he had to have kind of a chair around. He had to kind of be like immobile. So now I will say, if they do an interesting kind of like back and forth, like they have them both, and it's almost like older Billy D is narrating his young adventure.
Yeah, if they
Now
do
that would be incredible.
Yeah,
almost like drunk history of Billy D narrating.
So into
No, honestly though, I am excited for Lando. Like I if it's Donald Glover, I loved him in Solo. My love for Solo knows no bounds, truly. But I really like I think Lando is just such a fun character in general. Like in any form in comics, he's always great. I would love to see it. Kind of just it's almost like I'm getting the Solo too, but and maybe this is if Lando works and it's young Lando. I mean, why can't Han Solo just show up or Chewbacca or all like why can't we just get that in that form? And like maybe they do. Maybe this is just a kind of a bootstrapping your Solo 2 into a show. So I'm in on Lando. I'm glad everyone else is. All right, now I don't know how to feel about this next one because I'm excited for the show. I really am. It's a mini series, and we're gonna get into this. But the casting announcement, I'm here for, on principle, on execution. I guess we're gonna see. It's the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries, and the announcement came down that Hayden Christensen will be reprising his role, not as Anakin Skywalker, but as Darth Vader, in the miniseries. Jeff, I know you're a big Obi-Wan fan, so I want to start with you. What was your reaction? How do you feel about this? What are you thinking? What's going through your head?
Yeah, I'm here for Kenobi. I'm less here for Vader. So that means the story that they have to tell is Kenobi has to leave Tatooine then, and I don't know what that looks like. After getting the fake trailer for years of him being Jesus walking through the desert, that's all I expected. And now that we know what the crate dragon looks like we can. There's a lot of ways they could go with just the unknowns of Tatooine is plenty for a series like this. But if Vader's involved, unless it's in like these flashbacks, like unless we're doing like dehydrated Kenobi, which is fine, I'm okay with that too. I don't see him confronting Vader on Tatooine. Like, there's nothing here. Go elsewhere. Like it's going to be really difficult to tell that kind of story that maybe isn't just an internal monologue, which is a weird, again, not where I saw this series going. I kind of see a young Luke, and I see more just kind of deepening of our Force understanding and just really kind of dealing with grief and loss from Kenobi's standpoint as kind of a loner at this point. But I'm also here. Hayden Christensen, deserves a better, time, some age behind him. Probably will do a really good job. But I don't know what this does for Kenobi as a character, besides not fulfilling what we think he did. And this is one of the things where, do we need to know all this? Either we had him fighting Maul, and I think that was great. That even felt like a lot. So it feels like we're really going to just upend everything we know about that line of, I've never heard that name in a long time. It was last week when we had coffee in Tatooine. Like, all right.
Yes. So I think they have a couple options. One, so there's in the mainline Marvel Comics Star Wars book, there are a couple interstitial issues that Luke reads from Obi-Wan's journal about his time on Tatooine, where essentially he is like the desert Jesus, just kind of walking around doing good, but he doesn't leave Tatooine, and Vader's not present. It's just like it's him narrating adventures that he has where he like comes across some rogues while he's trying to get some water or whatever like that. I would appreciate that. So I would like Vader if it was essentially Vader was his own character. Like they don't ever cross, but Vader is just in the show, and they're kind of like both dealing with the fact that they're no longer part of the organizations that they were, or whatever it is. Like they're both dealing with this intense tragedy, but this takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so I doubt that. Or the other option is again, Jeff, like you said, to have this kind of be like a fever dream where he's kind of almost just like imagining Vader. But at that point, why not just get Liam Neeson to join the show and we do a master and apprentice type team up and get Qui-Gon? So I'm very skeptical about the execution of how Vader's going to be in the show.
Now, see, that makes it interesting. Yeah, go ahead, John.
My prediction for that for Hayden Christensen, because they're not just like, oh yeah, he's going to be in the show. Like they're saying that he's going to be a key role in the show somehow. My prediction is basically kind of similar to what Brian said, is that he is going to have his own story arc, kind of like how Gideon does in Mando, but like a little bit more hands-on. We're going to be seeing Vader dealing with things from his perspective, and eventually those stories, both Kenobi and Vader's stories, are going to build separately for like most of the show and then intersect at some point.
What if
in like a way that maybe they don't even meet at all? They're dealing with the same problem and they both have to fight it from different ends. And you know, I don't know. I feel like they're not gonna just kind of do like a Force Ghost or like a premonition or anything like that, just because why bother getting Hayden for something like that? Like you could literally just get James Earl Jones to voice over somebody in a suit and that's it. So
Willie, what were you gonna say?
I think there's a couple things. I think I liked the premise of the Obi-Wan show more with Vader not involved in it. Yeah. I also like the premise of Hayden Christensen as a young Vader figuring out like who he is and how he's going to control, you know, how he comes into power as the second in command. And like him just dealing with like Imperial bureaucracy would be really interesting.
Yeah.
So if they're both in the same show and they just never meet, I'm way more for that than any possible way I see that they could meet.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it as you were explaining it, Brian. I think we might get a why can I say Qui-Gon Jinn casting. Taken casting. Anyway, that is reaching out through the Force and seeing not Vader, but seeing Anakin Vader.
Okay.
And then you're seeing, you know, Obi-Wan, because we have this passed down to Obi-Wan that there's good in Vader. He talks about Anakin and Vader as separate. So if he could see them that way, I think that would be interesting. And then because that feeds the whole, because again, we have to work off of what exists already in canon. They're not going to try to break it just for this one-off. So if he's learning in the ways to become one with the Force, he's actually being able to get some different sight and being able to see Anakin inside of Vader. So exactly what Willie and Tom were saying, but we're looking at Anakin as a whole person is part of the Force, and Vader is this kind of monster that you're watching be stalked, in other words. And that's kind of the haunting, as he goes back and forth and just keeps checking in, and that's why he's instilling Luke that your father is dead, but you know, or he's separate
Right.
from Vader.
Almost like a Jekyll and Hyde type of situation.
Yep. That you
That
can
would
only
be a cool take. I mean, I think what we've discovered is there are ways to do it that aren't like the typical Vader lands on Tatooine, like, oh, Obi-Wan, nice to see you at this bar that I'm also at. Let's fight and pretend like this never happened the next time we meet. Because that's, I think, the worst way to do it.
No, what if it's like it's just like this weird sitcom where they keep like
The Odd Couple.
No. Obi-Wan's out for dinner and then like he leaves and then like Vader comes into the same like restaurant and it's
like they just keep missing each other.
Parent out in the world, you're like, oh God, how do I get out of this conversation?
Oh, I mean, I think there is room for comedy in all of these. I'm gonna
level of comedy. We don't need that anymore. I don't care how thirsty Obi-Wan gets. I don't need any of that.
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay, two shows that, again, Willie called it like since episode 1 of this season, are the two Mando spinoffs. So I'm gonna start with the one that, and this is on this list of everything that they announced, is probably the thing I am least excited for and the most out for, and that is, I learned the name and then I forgot it from my memory immediately. Rangers of the New Republic. So this is potentially going to be a Cara Dune led, possibly Bill Burr, possibly the two X-Wing pilots. I'm so out on this. I can't even this is one of the. I'm not a canon completionist, although I do try. I can't read all the novels. I do try to watch and read as much as I can of Star Wars. This is one thing I'm like, I honestly have zero desire to even touch that show in any way. I am not interested because you can't have Leia, so you can't have the high command of the New Republic, and I have no interest in that at all. Is anybody in on Rangers?
No. We have Rogue Squadron done. I don't need any more of these cop dramas. I mean, if this is a procedural, right? If this is like,
Wait. What if it's CSI Star Wars?
That's what I'm saying.
Because no, Jeff.
Or
if that's what it is, I am like.
You're 100% in.
Like the first.
It could be. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be.
The first episode, they have to figure out if Greedo or Han shot first. Like,
it just got lasers lined up to chase blast points.
Listen, all I want is Ice-T now in Star Wars.
They just cut to him and they're and he explains something.
What do you mean the lady had tentacles on her head? He's just Ice-T. It's not even.
He's not even Star Wars themed. He's just wearing his Law and Order regalia, his leather jacket, and
If that is the only thing that could make me like this show. Yeah.
Or if the character of Cara Dune is just immediately dispatched with in the pilot episode, a la Ned Stark. But again, pilot episode and non-season finale, I'd be here for it. All right, next up, and the one again, not a surprise. But the one I think we're all super in on because we're probably going to get thrown, it's the Ahsoka show. We knew this was coming. Heck yes. How are we feeling?
So this is going to be 24, but Ahsoka, no.
Yeah, we're just going to keep. I'm super pumped. I think Rosario, again, we talked about this 1,000 times, but you don't get Rosario Dawson unless you have plans. I'm here for it. She was awesome in live action. She looked cool. She has a mission that she can go on. And interesting, though, that they did say that it will take place during the timeline of Mando. So it's going to be taking place during that time. I mean, you could get some time jumps in it, but I think it's primarily going to be set 5 years after the fall of the Empire.
I mean, I see two big things from this because I don't think Mando's going to touch on this because I hope Mando goes back to its more real, not Force stuff. So this is the Force spin out. So we could probably see Luke's knights, his Padawans that got, anyone they introduced that they have to be ready to get killed by a prepubescent, freaking 3-blade dude. I don't know why can't I come up with Kylo Ren's name? That's how forgettable that was. And then I think this is where we might see a re-siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Actually, not through Mando, but maybe Mando comes back for that. But I definitely see Bo-Katan being tied to this more than Mando. Boba Fett's got Mando. We're okay there. Let's give again Filoni his own area to be live action. We won't keep him in Mando.
Yeah, I mean, Filoni has stretched himself thin with these shows, assuming he's probably going to show run and direct a lot of Ahsoka, and assuming Bad Batch as well. Bad Batch obviously animated, so it's a little more hands off, I would imagine. But plus any of his work on Mando.
We don't know timing for any of these either, though.
True. Yeah. I mean, Ahsoka could be 2024 for all we know.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, especially with Mando. So yeah, with Mando starting next year, I wouldn't expect any of the Mando spinoffs for at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And maybe Mando will have completed
Yeah.
like its entire series run before any of these other shows start. So that'd be interesting. All right, last one up. And aside from Ahsoka, this is the one I am most excited for, with one small caveat. It takes place during the final days of the High Republic. Now, for anybody unfamiliar, the High Republic is the new publishing initiative that Disney is taking on. So it will be a series of comic books, a series of novels, young adult novels, junior reader novels that are coming out in 2021. That is just basically the Old Republic. They're just calling it the High Republic. So it's the way it was pitched, just the Jedi Knights of the Round Table. But this will take place at the tail end of that, and will be primarily focused on dark side users, and it's called the Acolyte. So I am hella in for any dark side anything.
1000%.
I'll play the video game first because we know it's coming. I mean, that's just this is very much a Shadows of the Empire massive campaign. Because there's no way there's not. I mean, this is such a huge endeavor now that we've got it in what's going to be the closest to film I think it gets. I don't know if we're going to go all the way to a movie, maybe, but maybe that's a specific character, but I definitely see this as a game. There's no way that it doesn't go at least that far, but it's interesting. Dark Side for first is interesting.
In my eyes, this is a very true to Star Wars form situation that they're starting with the end. I don't think we're going to see the very end. I think this is going to be in the last bit of it. And then I'm pretty sure that one of the major projects moving forward the next 4 or 5 years is going to be the Old Empire, is going to be all the stuff that KOTOR kind of followed up on, and we'll get more in depth and more intense. See, that was something that I always loved more so than any of the current canon, was just and I never played KOTOR. I never got into Knights of the Old Republic, but I loved the stories. I watched all the videos repetitively just because I was like, this is the Star Wars I want to see all the time. Why don't we see more of this? And I'm so here for this show. I'm so here for it. I can't wait. It's the one thing on that roster that I was just really excited to see something different.
Yeah, surprised Disney pitched a Dark Side show, but again, maybe they go a little age it up a little bit, and we get a little bit more they delve into the anti-hero-esque type deal, tapping into those Marvel roots of something like Punisher or Daredevil, where it's it doesn't have to be all nice and blue milky. It can be a little dark. We can break bad a little bit.
It was just this is Breaking Bad, and it's gonna be.
I actually would love that, honestly, if it was a cast out Jedi Padawan expelled from the Order, and then he's well, I still know the Force, so let's get into the dark side. Anyways, okay, so those, I'm gonna switch to movies. Those are the 10 shows. I think overall we're in. But again, we're gonna talk a little bit about more of those later. So there were 2 movies announced. The first one we don't know anything about. And this was actually announced previously, but I think just confirmed here, is that Taika Waititi is directing a Star Wars movie. That's all we know. Here for it. Love Ragnarok. Excited for Thor: Love and Thunder. Here for it. But the big one, directed by Patty Jenkins. And Jeff, I will start with you on this one, because this is when I heard this announced, I was I can't believe that Jeff is getting his dream, and they announced 10 shows, but I don't get a Max Rebo show. About a disenfranchised band leader looking for work. Why can't I get a Blues Brothers style miniseries starring Max Rebo? Anyways, directed by Patty Jenkins of Wonder Woman. They're making a Rogue Squadron movie, Jeff.
You broke that news for me. He texted me. He said, "You got your wish." I'm I don't know what that is. At that point, I was finishing writing a paper, but yes, what is it? And it was this. It makes sense that they take this on as a genre film. This is very much, the best parts of the narrative from Stackpole's novels and his graphic novels. This is the writer of the original run of Rogue Squadron, was the back and forth in the cockpit, right? It's the they're all hyper specific characters that are doing a lot of different things, and there's a lot of great, because so Rogue One is focusing in on the rebellion at its height, and because it's the rebellion at its height, it's a very diverse squadron normally. I hear that it may not be exactly in the normal time frame we're used to seeing Rogue Squadron. This may be a successor squadron, so it'll be interesting to see where this actually ends up getting placed. But things like a Mon Calamari and a Quarren falling in love with each other and what that means, and we've seen those races, and it's like it's weird Star Wars underneath this really cool high action fighter pilot story. It's space fish doing flying aces. It's really cool. I hope that they keep that character element in there. It's Goose, but he's got freaking tentacles for a mouth. And like, that's cool. That's the fun part of Star Wars is the diversity. You're supposed to feel the real push and pull of kind of trading blows with the other side and recruiting from the other side. So I think that would be really cool if we saw some defection, and that's a common trope now. But in specifically in Rogue Squadron, I'm going to go through all the books, so please don't let me do this. But you see like high-end Imperial fighters, which are really high trained because they're in high-pressure situations, defecting over to the rebellion, and what that means and how that affects the group. It's a movie, so we can't get this elaborate story.
Yeah.
But we may see a Wedge. We may see Wedge as the leading commander that brings in the new squadron. That would be awesome. We see.
We need it. We need Wedge.
We need
it depends on where this timeline is, but
justice for Wedge.
It's right. It's a good first. It's a good standalone movie. It's what Rogue One should have been. I'm here for just seeing what that does. And I trust Patty Jenkins too. I think her action elements are so spot on. And you think about the emotional pull she had at the end of Wonder Woman, where Loverboy's flying off in the ship, and you're like, she knows how to play with space and depth. That is just like she's good at that. So I trust. Trust that she did it. And the last thing is the way she brought up her father, and that she loves, honoring Air Force folks. I mean, that's gonna make this feel heavy, real. Like when you see the first run to the Death Star, you're like, I can be in that ship. That's where all this comes from, is the checking in on the wings and then just going in and not quite in. It just that's the kind of thing I can't wait to see. So I'm gonna go cry. Actually, it's such a beautiful.
No, it really is. It's so exciting. And like, listen, Top Gun is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's
and like Star Wars Top Gun is literally like, I can just imagine the opening of Top Gun, but in Star Wars. So like, the S-foils locking into attack position and taking off from a base, and just some cool Star Wars music. It's wonderful. And Jeff, you're exactly right. Like that teaser that Patty Jenkins made about like how much like Air Force and like fighter pilots, all that means to her and the legacy of her family. I'm like, hell yeah! I was in from the moment they said Patty Jenkins is directing it, because I love Wonder Woman and I'm super stoked for Wonder Woman 84. So when they said, hey, we're making Rogue Squadron, Patty Jenkins is directing, she made a teaser trailer that was like incredible. Like I don't care when it is, I don't care who's in it. I'm just like, you know what, that's awesome. Like that's something I want to see. I'm glad it's a movie and not a show. I'm glad there are options, and it's going to get the attention and the budget that I think something like that deserves. And I think that will appeal to a level of Star Wars audience. Like I'm sure they will find a way to shoehorn a lightsaber in there somehow, but on its face, I don't think you need it. And I think it would appeal to just a kind of a new fan. So
yeah, they did Rogue One and they saw success from that. They don't need a lightsaber. I mean, they had at the end, but that was just kind of a shock and awe thing.
Yeah.
That I appreciated, but we don't need that.
My favorite Vader moment, other than
I mean, it is, but we don't need
cutting off his son's hand.
we don't need that. I mean, we don't need it if it's gonna be in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Luke is a gunner or a pilot for a reason. Like there's enough in that world that can live on its own, I think.
I
And
agree.
put some shore leave with volleyball, whatever that looks like in Star Wars. I think that'll be
a shirtless space volleyball scene. I'm into it.
references. I couldn't think of the name of the movie. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies of all time. Willie, I want to start getting into this a little bit, and something I want to start with you first because I know we talk about this. Is this too much? Is it 10 shows, 2 movies too much? Like, is Star Wars cannibalizing itself? Like, are we just going to blow the IP up?
Well, so it's interesting. I saw someone tweet, actually. They're saying that, like, remember how Disney's takeaway from the sequels was we need to not do a Star Wars every year. And then they decided to announce like 15 Star Wars projects. I mean, I think the one thing that I'm super happy about is they announced only 2 movies. They're probably not going to be connected. They're not trilogies. They're 2 standalone movies. Very, very smart. So I think on the movie front, they're going to be fine. Me and Jeff were talking about this a little bit before everyone caught in, but I think it's very cocky of Disney. They've made 1 good TV show, and now we're going to try to scale that to 10.
Send it.
And
dump the whole budget.
And I mean, and it's tough. I mean, I think some of this is smart because they're really trying to make a heavy bet in Disney Plus while they can. But I also think, I think they're going to run into the problem that Netflix is having right now, where Netflix has 100 different shows and 10 of them are good. So can they replicate what they did with the Marvel movies on the small screen? I don't know. I don't think they've done that. I mean, if you look at the Marvel slate, they're just starting to do that on like Disney Plus for Marvel with Winter Soldier, with WandaVision, with stuff like that. So, if all those shows are good, I could have hope in them replicating it for Star Wars, but I think it's a lot. I think it's a very aggressive slate.
Yeah.
John, do you think it's too much? Because I know, you were saying, you and I talked earlier about like how we're just kind of in a new, you made a post about it actually, about how you were just like super excited for the future of Star Wars. Are you still excited, or are you a little bit hesitant?
I'm excited because the things that aren't good enough to hold up won't. They will fall off. They will be one-offs. They will, they'll be there, but they won't be something that's going to continue. My excitement comes more from the fact that they are finally starting to branch out from the Skywalker umbrella that I am so tired of. I'm so tired of it. I love the series. It's done. Let it be done. Like you murdered it. You beat a dead horse. Just stop. You're done. Be done. And I love the progression and the idea that like we have so many different outlets for Star Wars. It's a huge universe. It needs to be a huge universe. However, I agree with you guys a lot that a lot of these shows are really unnecessary and they're just for fan pleasure and pleasing the kids, and like that's great. That's fine. But like the stuff that we really want to see will still come out. I think we will still see a lot of new stories because we have a lot of new people telling them. It's not just the same old BS anymore, which is great. And I think that just the last 3 episodes of Mando have done a great job to give us, what we were so worried about the first 2 episodes, like, this is becoming kind of repetitive. And it's like, okay, no, there's a point to all of this. And like, I'm excited for the future. I do not think that their slate is going to be as daunting in the schedule that they're going to let everything out. I think that everything is going to kind of just fall into its respective Tetris points, and we're just going to, pick out what we love the most, and everything else is kind of just going to be there.
Yeah. I think it's a fair point, and the point about the multiple voices, I think, is a good one, and it can always. It can't really hurt to have more opinions and point of views on the Star Wars legacy instead of having the same 5 people. Jeff, do you think it's too much?
It's Legends, right? It's what the extended universe was before Disney bought it and sold it whole cloth. I mean that's apparent by what they're doing with Boba Fett. Like they know what they're doing. They're rehashing the best of those and trying to spark that again because they're fighting against the narrative that Star Wars is dead. It's done. We finished the story. It's over. We did the whole thing. Right? We saw the ghost of Luke and there was a Skywalker and we're done. That's the story of Star Wars. And we know, I think as fans, and that's, we know as fans that it's not that. It's a huge universe. It comes from an RPG tabletop game that existed alongside of this Heir to the Empire, which was supposed to kind of tie in and start telling more stories. And that's what exploded everything. Thrawn and all that thing come from the expanded universe, which George Lucas was like, whatever, do whatever you want. I don't care. I made my money. I made toys.
I like your George Lucas impression. I would like you to do the rest of the show in that. Whatever. I don't care about this. I made my money.
Care about it's fine. Make a nerds. Don't care anymore. But so they're rehashing that. I think it's like the fire is dying, so they're taking a starter log and just dumping it and hoping that catches the fire again. And I think one of the things I was saying to Willie is it's just like I worry about fracturing, and you just keep splitting up your base, and it's a confusing message. Baby Yoda exploded. Grogu is the reality. Is where we're going. I mean, like there are things that'll hit, things that won't. And at the end of the day, I think Star Wars is better with more content. I think Star Wars is good when you put money to it, but there's a law of diminishing returns for all of these things. And like Willie said, this isn't Marvel. The roster does not get deeper unless you make it. I just hope we see the Cantina band for you. Not even the Cantina band. That's not the right band. That's not his band. But you know what I mean.
I understand. Are you a fellow revolutionary?
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
I've coined that myself.
There needs to be a,
Yeah, that surprised me. We weren't sure that you came out.
So I don't know if you noticed this, Brian. The Taika Waititi Star Wars logo was bright blue. And I'm pretty sure I saw a nose at the other end of it. But maybe that wasn't a nose. It is Taika Waititi.
I honestly would die. Like I would be so happy. I can't believe he just like hasn't been. I'm waiting for 2023.
In the world that would be as big of a Max Rebo fan as you would be Taika Waititi.
Yeah, hey, I'm here for it. For 2023, like we're gonna get another edition of From a Certain Point of View about, and one of the chapters is gonna be about Max Rebo. Like that's what I'm pinning my hopes on. I'm hoping for another figure. I'm hoping for any content at all.
That is the lowest hanging fruit you've got, man. I'm sorry.
It's awful. One thing I do want to touch on, Jeff, to go on what you said, is they're trying to restart the fire, and this is the tactic. Do we think that this is the right tactic? Like, is this? I mean, and I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna transition into one another questions that I want to talk about. But think about that as I say this. So I'm making you all Kathleen Kennedy. Congratulations.
Man,
you are looking
like me. A lot of people like me.
You can be George Lucas if you want also. And you're coming back in and you are given this slip of paper that has these 10 shows on it. I want you to cut one and give me an idea for what you would replace it with. I'll start and I will absolutely cut with the biggest hatchet I can find, Rangers of the New Republic. And my pitch for a show would be a Ocean's 11 style thief crew, and a mini series. I want a 8-episode Queen's Gambit length mini series about a Star Wars crew doing a cool heist job. No Jedi. That's what I'm in for. John, I'm going to go to you next. What show are you axing, and what show are you replacing it with?
I have to agree with you. It would either be the
It's Rangers.
droids. Yeah, it would either be droids or Space Rangers. I don't care for either of those. I don't.
Wait, I want to stop you right there because you said Space Rangers, not the toy, but the actual person that Buzz Lightyear is based on. Sorry, go ahead.
You know they're doing that show too.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
No, we're pretending that doesn't exist.
I didn't think you would. Yeah, no. I think that I could do without either of those. I think potentially I would cut the droids more so than the Rangers, just because, again, they've beat it to death so many times. It's just unnecessary. Not that the Rangers is any less unnecessary. What I would definitely be into, that was the second question, was like what I would put on.
Yeah, like what would you want to see? What show would you pitch instead?
I would 100% want Acolyte to be the beginning of a new section of the franchise, just so from the other end of the. I've loved this season of Mando that they've given so much thought into the opposite perspective from like the Empire's perspective, or even from like citizens' perspective of like, well, yeah, the revolution was great, but like we kind of live like crap now. Everything kind of sucks. Like they didn't really help that much. Like there's a lot of really weird inklings of like behind the scenes stuff that we didn't really get from the opposite perspective in all the movies. So like I like seeing, you know me, I'm a nihilist when it comes to Star Wars. So like anything Sith related is just perfect for me.
Yeah, and more Sith always.
Yeah,
There's
always.
never enough. The rule of two sucks. Willie, which one are you cutting and which one are you replacing? What are you replacing it with?
I'm cutting the Cara Dune show.
Hell yeah, 3 for 3, Jeff. Do your thing when it comes time to it. But Willie, what are you replacing it with?
I'm replacing it with. So there's 2 different ways that they could do this, both of which I think would be really cool. I want a Star Wars sitcom, like where it's little 2 things. It's either one of the shows in universe that people watch, which would be
that's phenomenal.
Which would be super cool, or it's literally just like Star Wars Seinfeld, and you follow like Greedo and his friends as they go to hang out in Mos Eisley. Done.
I honestly love both of those. Oh yeah, Cheers to the Cantina would be great too. But Willie, okay, so the in-universe show, would this be an animated show, like, or would you want it live action?
I think I'd want it live action.
Yeah. I love the idea of a Star Wars sitcom in any form, especially with a laugh track, but like have mixed alien voices and robot sounds in there, like with the laugh track, so you don't actually know if they're like laughing or cheering. You have to tell by the pitch.
Fantastic.
It's the best. I love that idea. All right, Jeff, what are you cutting? Or should I say Kathleen Kennedy again? Jeff, what are you cutting and what are you pitching instead?
I just like Willie's just making me spin, man. I don't know. I think like that. Like now I'm thinking like how would I ever seen in universe that's actually video? And I'm thinking that there's just that like weird porny thing that the grandfather Wookiee was watching in the holiday special. So I remember that. Like it's a VR headset. It's just like straight porn. Like it's anyway. That happened. You can go look it up. It exists.
Oh my god.
So I don't. The reason why I don't hate the Rangers of the New Republic is I like the New Republic. Like what it was. Here's the problem: is like what it is right now is really lame. They've made the New Republic just like the. I mean,
Cops.
I liked the X-wing chase. I hated the X-wing pilots. I just am like these are like they're eating donuts in their cockpit. Like I'm like I don't want that. This is not because the New Republic is 1776. It's supposed to be like sort of a new thing, a new hopeful thing, but it's just it's not that. So I actually want a good New Republic. Now if they call it the Power Rangers of the New Republic, there's your right there, but that's not what we're gonna do. I want to cut the Cassian Andor. I really just did not like the take on Rogue One. And he kind of centers that, except it's the character that meant less than Jane Erso, and Jane Erso's family had a much better story, and like that's the story I'd rather follow and tell the story of Catalyst, which I don't know if you guys, it's a tie-in book to Rogue One that they talk about kind of the plans of the Death Star and what that whole thing looked like in Krennic and all those things, and that was a really interesting spy thriller because you get to kind of see that side playing each other, which was just a couple scenes in Rogue One. So see a casting in. He's annoying me. I want to see a comedy. I want to see, I think it was Star Tours was the name of the show they tried to put up. I forget who was, I think it was
Detours.
Detours, thank you, sorry. I knew it was a play on Star Tours.
Star Tours is the ride.
Is the ride, right? So Detours, the Mickey Mouse ear just kind of just dipped a little, and I said, but Detours, where you've got that kind of robot chicken, but not, and more story based, would be really good. We need a genre flip too, and I don't see that here. I don't see a comedy. I don't see a. I'm just trying to picture Friends in Star Wars is just.
That's great.
It's so perfect. The exact blend I need.
I honestly like all the ideas if it was a sitcom of Sith Lords.
Like, what are all those Sith Lords doing on their off time when they're not chanting at Palpatine? Like that. But like we definitely need a comedy. I think Taika Waititi's movie is going to be great, but I want that as part of this. And maybe we don't know what Lando's could be. It could be that funnier offbeat thing, especially if Donald Glover's running it. And one thing I wanted to mention earlier with that is he did a Deadpool spec script that's out there. And if you can get somewhere where we're between Deadpool and Lando, and it's that kind of thing where it's just kind of one-off stories that are. Again, I think Billy D. Williams is like, this is a story, and he's going to be like the most ridiculous, unreliable narrator, where there's like 13 women just circling him, just waiting to jump on him. Like, it's just like, I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what it is because, we never know Lando's real story. And even when we see him in Solo, that could go both ways. He could be actually that charming, ridiculous guy, or it could just be a con artist. Drifter. So that's what I'm pitching, just some kind of comedy. We need to laugh at Star Wars.
Star Wars does need like a little bit of a Deadpool type of send up of themselves. Like it takes itself very seriously, and I think
all these take themselves seemingly so seriously.
They're weird movies about spaceships and lasers. I don't get the super seriousness. Like
Bill Burr and Mando like calling out laser swords is the tone I love. And Bill Burr, where he was just like, just say whatever you're gonna say in your stand-up, but kind of make it kind of Star Warsy. That'd be kind of nice. Like I'll say what I can, but we're gonna get a Boston accent the whole time. It's perfect. It's spot on.
Well, that was everything that was announced for the Disney investor meeting. We will probably get a lot more from these as the next celebration kicks off. I don't know. I don't think this is a D23 year, but we will definitely keep track of all these things. But I'm glad that you could all join me, join Willie and I to talk about this because I don't know. It's more Star Wars and more, as we said, may not always be better, but there could be some gems in here. So I'm gonna throw it around the horn for any final thoughts on this. I'm excited about it. I'm again a little worried if you take the entire investor meeting and talk about like everything that was announced from Pixar, Disney, like Marvel. I'm a little just worried in general that Disney Plus is going to turn into something different than I imagined it would. But anyways, I'm positive. I'm here for more Star Wars. Willie, any final thoughts on all the Star Wars news that came out of the investor meeting?
It's really nice that they're finally starting to do, we have Ahsoka, which is presumably going to be, Ahsoka's the lead. We have a female run show. We have Lando, which is, the only black guy in the universe is getting his own show. And I mean, even with bringing in, the Wonder Woman director, like Kathleen Kennedy has finally found apparently a woman who's good enough to direct a Star Wars movie. So I think, I think if they do what I wanted them to do with Star Wars from the beginning, which is what they did with Marvel, which is they found people who really liked the franchise and let them do their own weird thing in it.
Yeah.
And that's how we get stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
And I think that's what they're realizing they should do. So yeah, I'm optimistic.
I'm here for it. John, any final thoughts?
I think that at its core, Disney maintains the idea of animation, of keeping things that are animated in circulation for future generations. Marketing ploy since their inception, basically, just Mickey and all of it. I think that, again, a lot of it is unnecessary, but I think that they're pushing the envelope, and we'll see whether or not it breaks. I guess I'm overly optimistic. There's a lot I don't care about, so I'm excited and blasé about most of the meeting. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I am very excited for more stuff from Favreau and Taika, because I love both of their work. Like, all of their work is it's so great and wholesome, and we're not going to talk about Lion King because I want to punch all of them in the face for that decision, but we won't.
And we're definitely not going to talk about the Lion King prequel.
It's not real.
Okay.
We're not.
All right, Jeff, send us home.
The Marvel of our time, Lion King 1.5 is a beautiful, beautiful movie, and I will not have you disparage it in front of me.
No, I'm talking about the new one that they announced at this meeting, Jeff.
The Lion King.
There's only one Lion King 1.5 to me, all right? One.
Truth.
Jeff, final thoughts?
I loved my Disney Direct. It was good. I enjoyed it, and just like any other Direct, there was a lot that was chaff and a lot was wheat. I mean, there was a lot to this. We'll see what pans out. I mean, this was a projection for investors. This is not, and next week on Disney Plus, you'll see. I think it's
fair.
A lot of hope here. I mean, there's a lot of interesting concepts. I've been clamoring for an Obi-Wan Kenobi spinoff. I trust Filoni to do good things in animation. I trust him now to do good things in live action. This is a new world for him. So to get a kind of flagship show with his flagship character is something that I'm interested in. And yes, I'm now just perpetuating that I just really like the white cisgendered guy. But no, I think there is a diversity to all this that is really important. Star Wars is an accessible and a diverse story. And that's why, when it was made back in the 70s and it was all hippie and love, like that's what Yoda's philosophy was. Basically, if you're looking at it, it's very of that mindset. It is better told by many voices. And so all of that we're seeing here is just to kind of echo what Willie was saying, it's just an interesting thing. And I think different mediums are going to come into play very soon. There's no way we don't see a slate of games following. I love that it's not focused. I love that it's not a movie, right? Uh-huh. They're going to try to pitch us a movie again. No one's coming to that. We beat that horse dead. It's not coming back.
And
I don't think.
I hope the one thing that you hit on, Jeff, which is what I really hope that they do, and it's what they did with Marvel too, is I feel like for the sequel trilogy, Disney / Kathleen Kennedy had a very certain idea of how they wanted things, and no one was allowed to deviate from that much.
Right.
And with Marvel, they've always been like, oh, you want to make a movie with a talking raccoon? Yeah, here's money, go do whatever you want. And so I'm hoping that's what Disney's doing now with Star Wars, is creators are coming to Disney and saying, I want to do this, like, Filoni, I want to do a show on Ahsoka. That show would not have been made 10 years ago. Wakiki's coming in and saying, who the heck knows? Same thing with the Lando show. And they're doing things that hopefully will feel like, the creators who made them brought their own spin into Star Wars, which is what we've desperately been missing in everything up to this point. So
the whole point of the extended universe is to validate and make better the stories told in the main line. Yeah. And this is the time to do that for the sequel trilogy, except they're going to harvest everything they can from all of these stories because Disney's trying to make a play saying, we own all of this and we're going to spin off all of this, not just the prequel, not just the original trilogy. We've got this whole canon and we're going to play through all of it, which is cool. I mean, it's, again, I think you're right, Willie. Let's not just tie it down to one movie that's hyper-focused and hyper-marketed. Let's give it to as many people as possible, which I think is the most hopeful thing we have, honestly.
Yeah.
While
that's
still
what Star Wars is all about.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, more voices in the galaxy. I'm here for it because the original creator isn't putting pen to paper anymore. So it's all legends as far as I'm concerned. So anything else, again, tentatively excited, but like I'm here for it. And like we all said, more viewpoints, unique viewpoints. It can only, there might be some misses, but like there's potential for some really good stuff coming out of this. So I will take the Disney investor meeting, the Disney Direct, as Jeff so eloquently put it, and say that it was a positive. So with that, I will wrap up and say thank you, gentlemen, all for joining Willie and I again on another edition of Children of the Watch. We will keep track of all these things. And again, we've been trying to record the solo podcast, but it's like Star Wars is like, there's a lot going on, guys. Like Star Wars is happening. It's in the moment right now. And then we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna do Rogue One, so I can just hear Jeff unload about that movie. Anyways, thank you all. I appreciate it, and may the Force be with you always.
Also.